Hey everyone, welcome back here to my channel where I play Planet Zoo. My name is Nisse and today we have quite a few tasks. First of all, we're gonna build a mountain, a whole mountain. Then we will have one of these hanging gondola rides, and then we're gonna map out the next 4 habitats and build one of them. The one we are going to build today will be the base of the mountain, and it will be a tropical area for the Lowland Anoa, giant Muntjac, and the North Sulawesi Babirusa. As always, I apologize for my bad pronunciations, but I'm doing my best here. As you can see here, we place 3 buildings in the middle of this mountain. That would be a surgery, a staff personnel room, and then of course a keeper's hut, and then of course our water filtration center as well, so we will have clean water all over this mountain. We are going to have 4 very different biomes in these 4 very different habitats, and I'm really looking forward to showing you it all. As you can see here, I just built the mountain up here, and I already plan to make it a little bigger, actually, on the back side, away from the main part of the zoo, to give some of the habitats a little more space, which I actually do a lot when I build habitats. So I map them out and figure out how I want them, and then while I'm building I always make them bigger. So of course I do the same here. Building a mountain like this really is easy. As you can see, I just add a lot of ground, of course also some rock to keep it all together, and we're gonna see what's happened. I'm gonna soften out the lower part here to make sure that our beautiful animals are able to climb it without issue. We don't want any of them to get hurt accidentally. Then I place out here, I place the gate for the first habitat that will be here on the back side. So I just make this part of a barrier and then give it a door. That's pretty much all we do for now. So on this side we will have the habitat we built today, and we're basically going in and do the same here, to make sure that our entrance here are a little bit heighted, but also to make sure that it is completely closed off, so none of our animals are going anywhere. Now this entrance is a little more difficult since it's placed up in the air, so we basically doing the same, but we have to work a little more around. As you can see here, we do try to cover it all also on this side, and we making sure that we have complete board of that area, so we don't end up with any animals in here on the path here, because if they fall down they will probably get hurt a lot. And this would be our top of the mountain habitat, which we are so looking forward to use. Because we having a habitat up here is exactly why we want this floating gondola to be a part of this habitat, so we can kind of carry our guests up there and still have them on a good distance, so our animals can get a lot of peace and quiet. Here I just map out the habitats to make sure that we are actually able to do this, because it's hard to make barriers and habitats on top of each other, so I needed to make sure that it would work, and you will see in a minute that I need to redo it a lot, because you can't have any gates inside of a habitat and you need it all to work together. Now let's talk a bit about the animals we're working with today. We're actually using the same site for all 3 animals, which is the animalia.bio, and a link for all 3 animals will be linked below, so feel free to go in and read for yourself. The most curious one, though, is the giant Muntjac. And basically we don't know much about them because they weren't discovered before 1994. The year after my birth, actually, so we haven't had that much time to discover much about them. Even though we have a lot of new technology, we are also that clever that we don't just catch a lot of them and imprison them in, for instance, zoos. Though I will say that they did capture 38 of them that were captured, studied, and then released into the adjacent Nakai Nam Teun National Protected Area. So they will be protected, and they use radio tracking to keep an eye on these giant Muntjac, and it showed that the relocation of them was really successful and they are thriving there. At this point there has been discovered small colonies of them in Cambodia, Laos and Vietnam, but it is small colonies, and even without knowing how many there actually are out there, studies have shown that their numbers are decreasing and therefore they are critically endangered. That's sadly all I know about them at this point, besides the raw fact they are nocturnal, folivore, herbivore, terrestrial, polyamorous, solitary, and the fact that they live in forest, mountains and anthropogenic biomes. Overall, it seems like it was lucky that we discovered them when we did, because it gave us the opportunity to isolate a group of them and put them into this protected area. Without this protected area, the number would be even lower now than it is, and it seems like at least the few that are there are thriving. This gondola station are made with kind of a old feel with it. A lot of the props we use to build it are actually Arctic wood and Arctic roof, but it does give me personally a Asian feel, and I'm actually really happy with the results. Luckily we know a little more about the Lowland Anoa, even though their numbers actually also at this point have dropped below 2,500. They are these small kinds of deer that weigh around 150 to 300 kilos, which would be around 300 to 600 pounds. They grow to the height of 90 centimeters, a little below 3 feet, and they grow to a length of 180 centimeters, which would be a little above 5 feet. Even though they typically appear black, they actually only have black skin. Their fur, though it is very short, is a dark brown, though the males are darker than the females. Some of them can have white spotting, normally small spots beneath the eyes, but there can also be markings on their back or on their legs. Both males and females have horns, and they are placed very much backwards and are very triangular, so it's kind of easy to recognize this bovine from others. The Lowland Anoa actually only live on one island, which are the Sulawesi Island, along with our North Sulawesi Babirusa, so they fit it nicely in this habitat. They do live in these lowland moist forest and woodlands area, though they normally live only in the core of the forest, so they are hidden long way from humans since they are very shy. The Anoa is most active during the early morning or the afternoon, and prefer like buffaloes to hide in the shadow or relax in a nice mud bath or a nice little lake for the hotter part of the day. Normally they only move by walking, but if they are fleeing, they can make very clumsy leaps if they feel hunted or just someone approaches themselves, since they are very solitary. Since they aren't that elegant and run that fast, they will turn around and attack violently if they have no other options. They are known to be very dangerous, especially in young males during the mating season. Very little are known about the Lowland Anoa's reproduction system, but we know that they breed year-round, whereafter the mom will be pregnant for 9 to 10 months. She will only give birth to a single calf, and the calf will be weaned off after 6 to 9 months. The calf will be sexually active after 2 to 3 years. And of course we know that most animal stories actually end very sad. And the Lowland Anoa isn't that different. They have many threats. One of them just are hunting, since they appear still to be legal to hunt them, even though they are quite rare at this point. They also lose their habitat since the locals use the forest for logging, and of course they also clear out the forest for agricultural purposes. Gold mining and other activities that are related to the collection of non-timber forest products also pose a serious threat for the animals. According to the IUCN Red List, the Lowland Anoa is currently endangered, and there are less than 2,500 individuals lived in the wild. The numbers are currently decreasing, and something needs to change if we want to keep this beautiful animal in the world. Now we want to give our animals here the most natural habitat possible, so their offspring will be able to return to the wild. Therefore we wanted to give them a big water pool so they can learn to swim, and just to have this watery enrichment as many bovines have. The Lowland Anoa isn't our only animal from Sulawesi, since we also have the North Sulawesi Babirusa. Though the Babirusa doesn't only appear on the Sulawesi but also on other nearby islands. The male have these two sets of tusks, which actually are engorged canines. The lower pair grow out in the top of the mouth, but the higher placed ones actually penetrate through the skin at the top of their snout and grow backwards to protect their forehead and eyes. They also live in forest and wetlands, though they prefer their wetlands to be covered in fresh water. Luckily for the North Sulawesi Babirusa, they are only listed as vulnerable at this point, though their numbers sadly also are decreasing. It is a hard time when you try to preserve some animals when their most dangerous threat are us humans, but we know that the humans living in these areas don't necessarily have the option not to kill them, since there are dangerous animals and the families in these areas can't always choose what they want to eat, so sometimes it can be the choice between this beautiful creature and starvation. Now we placed our little water hole here. We make sure that our beautiful creatures aren't able to just swim across with a lot of stone. Then we need a good secure fence to make sure that our animals doesn't visit our guest on the wrong side of the fence. So we make it in wood and try to pick some wood that fit in with this tropical forest color, so it will be this dark wood. I know a lot of people, when they think of tropical forest, we think about beautiful colors and luscious greens and all of this, but basically for a forest to be a forest, you need a lot of wood. So that's what we're building with here, and we try to make it around 1 meter high. Here we have 2-meter logs, so we can place them down in the ground to make sure that they stay put. Then we use these small pieces in between to make sure that the babies won't get through. While placing this fence, we go in and pull 2 wires, one at the top and one at the bottom, to electrify the fence. This isn't to hurt any of our animals, of course, but it is a need, since a lot of them won't have respect for a wooden fence. So this way they will hurt themselves once. It's not enough to actually give them a scar or anything like that. It's very low voltage, but this way they only get hurt once, and then they will respect the fence. Where if we didn't have electric fence here, then they would go through it, and then we might have to hurt them even worse if they attacked a guest or anything like that. Again, this is wild, dangerous animals that we really want to protect, so therefore the wire fence are the best solution. Though we actually don't want our benefactors to think too much about it, that's why we hide it between this beautiful tree fence. And at this point it's clear for everyone to see that we do end up making this habitat a lot bigger than first intended, and it fits our animals so well. Again, most of these animals are very shy, and we want to give them the full opportunity to hide from our guest. Even if it's the gondola they want to hide for, or it's the guest over at the path with the simons and the orangutans. Now we just connect the last part here with the gondola station, and then we pull the fence over here to make it more complete. Though we won't actually complete this entire fence today, since it will go much further than this. So we just built the part we need today, and I think that's here. And then we use stones as our natural fence between our beautiful animals here. Then we of course need to make the habitat fit the fence here, so we go in and redo a lot of this here. This isn't unusual for my builds. If you follow my builds, this will happen a lot. And then up here we also use stone, not only to put something in between the habitats here, but also to cover that part between the habitats that we had to make up here. So we make this giant stone wall, and that would be so much more pretty when we are making the other habitats and making the mountains a bit bigger. Then over here it can be a very hot day, so we want our guests to have something to drink over here. So we're gonna put in a juice bar using the same arctic wood as we did on the station. And then we will also reuse the same pillar, so we can make this very nice. We do also place it 1 meter down in the ground here, so we have a good strong fundament. Going in here, we're gonna add these pillars on this side at the same height as the wall here. And then over here, remembering that we live in a tropical area here, so we both need something to keep us cold in the hot days. Therefore we want to have a lot of air going through here, but at the same time we actually also want something that can keep us dry. Therefore the too big roof up here will fit in nicely. Then we try to place it here, and then we are back and our animals are finally in the habitat here. So we try to make everyone happy, but we end up with a lot of dirt here since it is a tropical forest we want to mimic here. So therefore we need a lot of dirt in here and some sand. So we make a sandy area here, and then more dirt over here, and then some rocks at the mountain to kind of make this in more areas than just one. Then we use our Arctic wood again in here to make some shaders for our beautiful creatures in here. So we make these ones where we just use this hay, and then we use again the same pillars that we did for the stations to pull this entire area together. So we will also use some of these things on the other 4 habitat. Then we go in to make sure that if we get a higher animal that it's not an issue. So we kind of make the same shader but just 4 meter high instead of 2 meter high. Again, the same wood, the same pillar, just higher. So we're gonna do this. We thought about making the roof higher too, but that would look weird. We ended up with. So we put this last one over here, so we kind of hide the what's it called? The barrier, the entrance, staff entrance to the habitat. Then we make sure they have a lot of trees to rub themselves from, since every animal here in loves them. We give them some balls they can play with here, the football, since it's both fun for the animal and for the, especially when our benefactors bring their kids along, they love when the animals play soccer. Then we ate at mud bath down here for the Babirusa, and we cover it a bit so it's placed down in the ground, which makes more sense. Then we go in here with the sprinkler system to make sure that our mud bath always are nice and moist. Place a few of these hurt and markers, and then it's time for the food enrichment. Again, the Babirusa likes to get their snout dirty, so we place one of these again down in the ground and try to cover it. We didn't place it low enough to begin with, so we needed to go back and push it even further down here, and then we can go around here. I covered the edge again. We didn't get the entire edge, but we got most of it. Then we of course need a lot of these feeding barrels placed all around the habitat, so the animals can get food even if they don't feel like going in front where the guests are. Then here we're gonna place some of the hanging feeders closest to the fence, so the animals who aren't that shy will go up there and say hi to the guest. Then it's time for the foliage, and we will place some high trees here in the back and make these areas again. So we have a palm area, and we will have some bushy area here to also to cover a part of the rocks, and here they can grow kind of in peace without any too much irritation. Again, especially the Babirusa can really hurt foliage if they want to. So also why we don't place too much pretty flowers in here. So we got these and a good tree logs, both because we have some jumpers in here, but also because it's nice to see the Babirusa really try to work and move it, since it would also be something they did in nature to find beetles and other kind of good food beneath. So we place a few aloe vera, which grows nicely in the dry sand over here, and then we go in with these to mimic a more flush forest, bottom of a forest. Again, we can't give them too much forest. Again, we need to be able to get through with the gondola, and we also need our guests to be able to see the animal that wants to be seen. So now we get in with some donation boxes and we change this flower bed to go all the way over here. It wasn't that difficult. Again, these flower beds are what we have placed at every single habitat, at our main entrance, at our even at our toilet. So at this point it's pretty much the same. We don't have that many different flowers here to pick from, so we're gonna go with the exact same thing. So we have this in the bottom and then we use these. For education, we go over here and steal the one from the bunny and orangutan and the Simon, since some of them here will be placed at the path around their habitat, so it will make sense that it's the same style. At the same time, we didn't have a good picture for the Lowland Anoa, so therefore we only placed education board for the giant Muntjac and the North Sulawesi Babirusa. So instead we put in some speakers to tell our guests a lot about the Lowland Anoa instead. So we place one here on the back of one of the signs. We wanted to place one in the building here, but it would cross with some of the others we have. We have a lot of them around here. Then we want one here where we start our journey when you go to the gondola, and then we place one up here. So doing your gondola ride, you will get a lot of information. Then of course we don't want any litter to mess up the path or anything like that, so we're gonna put a lot of trash cans all around so our guests can use them freely. Then down here we actually want a lowered area. This way we can have a toilet kind of hidden away, and our guests can actually go under the gondola this way. It was kind of hard because we want our path to be stable so the guests don't have any issues with it, but at the same time we also have the issue where we need it to be low enough for our guests to go under here without getting hurt. We don't want any of our guests being basically trashed by the gondola. And since I accidentally here made it too low and now it was accidentally too high, so we need to go back in again, lower it a bit, and that was something to work around, but when it was done it worked, and that's all we're going for here. So we want this pathing to go here and a bit lower again, and then it finally fit here. And then we actually wanted our guests to be able to exit on this side instead of the other side. Mainly because it makes more sense and you can get your guests quicker out and in of the gondola when they can exit and enter at the front. So therefore it just makes more sense to have more make it more effective with the quick shift between guests here. So we need to place this path down here. And again, something we need to work a little bit around. Again, the terrain on the pathing system here isn't optimal, but it works. I'm not sure I'm going to use this path out here yet, but it just made sense that being able to have the opportunity to have it. Then we remove all of this over here, and then we can put in here an information booth, and we can actually double this building, so we will be able to have a nice coffee shop as well. As we know, juice shops are wonderful for the cold, but sometimes if it's a rainy day, then you need some hot coffee, or maybe your kids just have been a little too noisy today, so it's nice to have that. Then down here we want to have a little outhouse for our guests so they can go and do their business. And again, it's basically what it is. It's a toilet block. Of course, over time this will be a nicer area, but at this point we are only building what is directly around this, so therefore we will come to it. Then over here we're gonna add 2 shops, so we're gonna have just a memento here, and then had Fantastic on the other side. Of course, we have our main what's it called, gift shop that you can use, but here you can actually go in, see what there are in the gift shop, and then you can actually order it. So when you go out, your order is done, and then you can collect it there. That's also why I didn't make any shelf or anything here. This is just kind of a way that you can make your exit faster when you go out. Then of course we need a little bit of floor in here for our workers, since it can be kind of muddy doing the raining system, so we need some good strong wood in here. Like that. And then it's just time to beautify this area, and we're going out here with a lot of, what's it called? Sorry, I can't remember what's it called. Bamboo, to kind of cover a lot of this building, and then we go down here and cover this ugly business with some stone. These tropical stones are beautiful, and they bring in some very specific coloration, since they have the green, but it's different than the grass. And then they have the rocky bits underneath, which just works very good over here. Then we go in with a bit of foliage, but we don't want to cover all of the grass here, so we just put in a little bit there, a little bit there, and without covering everything. And then we just do this, and some beautiful red purple plants down here. Then we need to lower these a bit, cut them at the tops, and so they don't grow through the roof here. And we go all around and do that, and it's a little more difficult than I had thought, but it was needed to protect our roof. Like that. And then we put some over here, and we don't need to worry about cutting them, because when the gondola gets through, then it would naturally cut the top of them there. But yeah, I'm done talking for now, guys. Enjoy the cinematics, and I will be back in a few 10 minutes or so. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a big project today. I do think I might finish out the rest of this mountain this Saturday, or maybe I'm gonna chop them out into smaller build. I haven't decided that yet, but I know we're gonna make this mountain bigger. So guys, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, and turn on the bell notification so you know the next time I upload a video. I really hope to see you again either in the comments below or in the next video. Bye guys!